What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Photography 101, back to the basics. I am Scott, Professor Scott, Professor Scotty, Professor Magic. Any of the above works for me. I'm here to really give you a glimpse into some of the things that I found to be super critical, super fundamental as I travel down my photography journey. These are things that I still refer back to today as I take some pictures and have various sessions. These are things that always kind of service to my mind. What is my background? I've been shooting professionally for about 6 years now. I own my own photography company. I'm Vision 6 Productions. I also do a lot of freelance work for some of the bigger companies and bigger brands. I've always been in the creative space since I was very young. I used to draw and paint and things of that nature. As I got older, went to college, graduated and all the stuff like that, I kind of lost that creative outlet. Thought that this would be a pretty natural progression. So I kind of just took it upon myself to just start learning, start trying to really understand some of these concepts and some of these techniques. And here we are. I've been doing this ever since. Why am I starting this series? I'm starting this series because I know it can be really, really overwhelming for people who are trying to learn, people who are trying to get into the space. There's so many resources. It can be overwhelming to really know where to look and what you should focus on and things of that nature. So I really wanted to give a couple of high level areas that if it were me and I was starting over, this is what I wish somebody would have been able to tell me back then. Who is this for? This is for people who may be brand spanking new, really have the desire to really learn how to take pictures and just trying to figure out where to go and get a solid basis. This is also for people who may be already shooting professionally. They may already be a photographer and just be looking for a refresher on some of these core concepts or these core topics. How to be successful. At the end of the day, respect the craft. Take your time and really try to learn these concepts. I promise really learning this stuff is going to take you a lot further than trying to sidestep or just trying to go straight to the end, right? Give yourself grace. While some of this stuff can be super straightforward or be fairly straightforward rather, there are nuances. There are things that aren't always as they seem, if you will. So you won't go from 0 to 100 overnight. Just take your time and I promise you will get there. One of the worst things I tell people is don't get wrapped up in comparison. One of the things as photographers, we like to compare ourselves to others. We look at their work and say, well, why doesn't my work look like that and things of that nature. Try not to get too wrapped up in comparison. A small level of that can be healthy, right? Because then you can kind of evaluate techniques and things of that nature. And then you can gain experience or ideas from looking at other people's work and things of that nature. But don't get too caught up on comparing yourself to others because it's could lead to a downward spiral, if you will. So just try to keep that to a minimum is what I'll say. Photography is part technical and part creative. So the stuff we're going to talk about here is going to be mostly some of the technical stuff, and then towards the end we're going to get to some of the creative things. But I'm a firm believer that once you have the technical side kind of nailed down, then it kind of opens up the door and leaves room for you to get creative when you know how to create a certain look or how to style in the settings on your camera to get a certain result. Remember, these will be high level. If you like what's in these videos, then let me know in the comments, send me a message, whatever. Based off of that, I may do a more in-depth course or I may offer some one-on-one coaching or training if people are interested in that. So just let me know. Throughout this course, we're going to talk about the exposure triangle. This is one of the most fundamental pieces of photography that a lot of people try to skip, but I promise, like I said before, if you understand this, you'll be able to take pictures with any camera, your iPhone, and you will know how to get a certain result with that camera. The different camera modes. So these are the different modes that are in your various cameras, and they sometimes they differ depending on the camera brand, but we're going to talk about ones that normally should be transferable to different cameras. We're going to talk about composition. So this is how you get a certain style of image. These are certain rules that you should probably try to follow when you're taking pictures, or these are rules that you can decide to break for creative purposes. We're going to talk about focusing. So this is going to be manual focusing and just continuous focusing, things of that nature to really help make sure that when you are taking these pictures that you're getting clear, sharp images. We're going to talk about lighting. This is a big thing for a lot of people. So we're going to talk about off-camera flash. We're going to talk about natural lighting. We're going to talk about, in the high level, but we're going to talk about how to get a certain look, why, in which cases you will opt for one versus the other. I use a lot of off-camera flash. It's just the style that I've kind of grown accustomed to. But knowing how to shoot natural light is also super, super critical. So you can't always depend on having an external flash or external light there. But we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about camera gear. So people who are looking to buy a camera, what should you be looking for? Why would you opt for one camera versus the other? Should you spend a certain amount of money on a camera if you're just a hobbyist? All right, we're going to have that type of discussion. We're going to talk about basic editing. So what you should know. I edit in Lightroom and Photoshop most of the time. So just some basic things about kind of correcting an image. And then finally, I'm going to have a video dedicated just to tips and tricks. So these are things that I tend to recall on, things I tend to go back to whenever I'm shooting, and it's helpful to me, so hopefully it'll be helpful to you guys. So that's the course. That's what we're going to be talking about. This was just an introductory lesson one, just to kind of give you guys a background on who I am, why I'm doing this, what I aim to teach during this set of videos or this course. Feel free to comment, send me messages, let me know what you think about this as we go along. And yeah, with that said, let's go.